Chapter 991, Terrifying Bloodline. Several dozen figures in black stood behind Zhao Feng's back, and the wicked aura they gave off seemed to materialize. Demon Lord, the enemy in front of us is our greatest yet. Once we kill him, we will be able to rule the continent. The entire continent will bow down at our feet. Zhao Feng knew that he was the biggest villain in this scenery and that the character he was playing had the intention to conquer the continent. Yu Tianao opposite him was obviously the hero that was going to save the continent. Lord Battle King, please kill the demon. Only then will the world be saved. Battle intent shot out from Yu Tianao's black eyes. Such a scene was exactly what he wanted. Furthermore, the environment here was very similar to the place where he last fought Zhao Feng in the Azure Flower continent. Yu Tianao even had the feeling that he and Zhao Feng had returned to the past and were about to start their last battle once more. However, the difference between him and Zhao Feng wasn't that big anymore. Both of them were emperors. Zhao Feng, let me witness your perfect blood devil son bloodline. Yu Tianao's bloodline started to boil with the help of his battle intent. Wu. An ancient and mysterious cold figure synced with Yu Tianao's body. Yu Tianao's actions instantly became one with the ice-cold figure behind him. At this instant, Yu Tianao seemed to become the god of war as everything nearby was covered by an orange light that shot into the sky. Unparalleled under the heavens. A supreme intent radiated from Yu Tianao as he attacked. A brilliant palm made of light shot out from Yu Tianao's hand. Boom. Bam. Bam. This palm crushed everything in its path and landed on Zhao Feng's body. Boom. A dark yellow sandstorm spread across the area. Bam. A flash of red light was unleashed, and it reached the heavens as it surged with power. Hoo-hoo. The entire sandstorm was ripped apart by a stunning blow of lightning and fire. Zhao Feng was like a demonic sovereign of lightning as he stood in the middle of the sandstorm. The terrifying power of fire and lightning radiating from him destroyed everything nearby. The blazing physical force clashed with the materialized battle intent. Bam. Shu tilde shu tilde. Orange and scarlet light flashed and explosions sounded. As expected of the perfect blood devil sun bloodline, an extreme imperial Dao bloodline on the same level as the unparalleled heaven battling bloodline. Yu Tianao started to circulate his own bloodline to the maximum. When his will to battle covered his body, Yu Tianao felt as if he had turned into the ancient and mysterious figure. His power had reached a peak and was about to be completely released. The mysterious figure behind him instantly became bigger and more condensed. His battle power is increasing so quickly. Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. He knew a little bit about Yu Tianao's bloodline. It was a terrifying bloodline that became stronger the longer one fought, and it could last for quite a long time. In merely the first exchange, Yu Tianao's battle intent had already reached a shocking level. His battle power was already comparable to Sacred Lord's. Come. Explosions sounded from Zhao Feng's body, which was covered in glass-like flames. Bam. Zhao Feng left behind a fiery afterimage as he instantly approached Yu Tianao and threw out a punch. The power of limitless fire and lightning crushed over along with the pressure of his sacred lightning body. Bam. Yu Tianao thrust out his palm and unleashed a shining golden sun. Its power was on par with the Blood Devil Sun bloodline, which specialized in explosiveness. Boom. Who? A surge of glass-like flames instantly fell onto Yu Tianao's ancient and mysterious figure and started to burn. Ignition, erosion, and lifesteal? Yu Tianao's expression changed. This was the first time he had seen the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline, and it was indeed terrifying. Unparalleled secret technique, chaotic dancing spring and autumn. Yu Tianao's black hair blew wildly as a brilliant glow of light covered his body and crystallized like a piece of armor. A layer of armor also appeared on the human figure behind him. Peng. Boom. Bam. Yu Tianao's offense could move mountains and oceans. Every punch and kick contained unrivaled battle intent that could crush anything and everything. Zhao Feng also became fiercer the longer he fought. The flames on his body turned transparent, and an occasional arc of lightning would also flicker. Zhao Feng's soul intent had reached the level of a sacred lord, and with the powerful defense of his sacred lightning body, he wasn't scared of Yu Tianao's offense. Furthermore, his lifesteal ability was effective in this battle. Boom. Bam. Zhao Feng punched out, and limitless power of fire and lightning erupted like a volcano. His each and every attack contained extremely explosive power. After the fight against Tai Ling Yun, Zhao Feng had better control over the Blood Devil Sun bloodline. Zhao Feng was able to decrease the energy expenditure from the Blood Devil Sun bloodline to the minimum and still instantly release explosive power when he attacked. However, he had to admit that, at this moment in time, Yu Tianao's offense and defense had both reached a shocking level. Zhao Feng's explosiveness wasn't able to cause much damage to him. Boom. Peng. The battle between these two was shocking, and beams of red and orange light continuously shot out from the storm. Zhao Feng, use your true skill. Yu Tianao was like the god of war as he and the cold figure both released a ray of light that seemed to engulf the force of heaven and earth. The battle intent radiating from him rose once more and actually surpassed normal sacred lords. I might as well. After all, there isn't much time left. Zhao Feng retreated a couple dozen yards, leaving a trail of flames behind. Blood Devil Charge. The glass-like flames around Zhao Feng started to burn frenziedly, and eruptions started to sound. The image of a blood-red sun with a spinning whirlpool in the middle of it appeared behind Zhao Feng. Boom. Whoosh. Zhao Feng's figure flashed and left behind a streak of light as he arrived before Yu Tianao. Bam. The instant Zhao Feng punched out, all the fire around him seemed to merge into the attack like a volcano about to erupt with lava. The scorching fire and lightning completely engulfed the ice-cold figure behind Yu Tianao's back. Boom. The ignition and erosion effects of the Blood Devil Sun bloodline immediately took effect and burned the figure behind Yu Tianao, making it seem like a mountain of fire. Unparalleled god of war. Yu Tianao gently said as fire covered him. Wang tilde. The ice-cold figure behind him released a bright orange light from every inch of his body. Yu Tianao himself became an orange sun. Every faint movement from him was closely connected to the ice-cold figure. Wang. A pair of scarlet-orange eyes suddenly appeared in the ice-cold figure and released a surge of battle intent that could shock the heavens. At this instant, Yu Tianao became the ice-cold figure itself and released a wave of battle intent that could crush the minds of sacred lords. Who? The fire on the surface of the figure was instantly pushed aside by this supreme power. Power God's axe. Yu Tianao's eyes were like black stars as explosions sounded. An axe that gave off a faint glow of orange could be seen slashing through the air. What terrifying battle power! At this instant, Zhao Feng felt like he was facing a mountain as he had to withstand the pressure of the limitless battle intent. Even Zhao Feng didn't dare to defend against this peerless attack head-on. Zhao Feng, the situation isn't looking good. The 13th prince has overtaken us in the number of wins, the 9th prince's voice sounded at this moment. Although he knew Zhao Feng's current situation, he had to tell Zhao Feng the news. If that's the case. Zhao Feng's expression suddenly became calm. Although he fought against Xin Wuheng and Yu Tianao to satisfy himself, he still knew what was most important. Boom. The power of desolate lightning started to pour into the air behind Zhao Feng. Everything within 100 yards instantly became dark and chaotic. Some of the laws of this dimension were even controlled by Zhao Feng. At the same time, a surge of flashing golden light appeared around Zhao Feng's flaming body. A barrier of blood-colored lightning appeared around his body as well. Zhao Feng didn't want for Yu Tianao's peerless attack to arrive. If he did, the attack would become even stronger. Tang. Zhao Feng leapt into the air and pushed out his palms, condensing all the ancient lightning and the physical force of his sacred lightning body into the defensive lightning barrier. At the same time, the power of wind lightning within his little world started to gather toward Zhao Feng. At this instant Zhao Feng seemed to become the god of lightning as fierce and deadly scarlet lightning surrounded him. Bam. Boom. Boom. The scarlet lightning clashed against the stunning orange light. The entire dimension that they were fighting in started to shake, creating huge gale winds and sandstorms as if some kind of doomsday had arrived. Whoosh. In the next instant, a bolt of scarlet lightning shot out and arrived before Yu Tianao. God-Eye Disintegration. Zhao Feng used the new power of his left eye. Only this move was able to counter Yu Tianao, whose battle power could increase infinitely. Boom. Hu tilde. When the sandstorms calmed down, Yu Tianao was lying on the ground drenched in blood and sweat. Victor, Zhao Feng. They instantly returned to the maze palace. Zhao Feng immediately took some special resources and pills while using his left eye to search for more opponents. Zhao Feng, after you just beat Yu Tianao, our total number of wins is the exact same as the 13th prince's, the 9th prince's voice sounded. Understood, Zhao Feng replied. Since he had been focusing too much on the battle against Yu Tianao, he couldn't help Jinkai, which resulted in their win rate slowing down and being overtaken. After all, the 13th Prince's team still had 5 people walking around in the Maze Palace. There was only a little bit of time left. Zhao Feng wouldn't let the 13th Prince's total number of wins surpass the 9th Prince's. Chapter 992, The Deciding Match. Although the moving Maze Palace was coming to an end, the battle between Zhao Feng and Yu Tianao still attracted the eyes of many people. It was a clash between the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline and the unparalleled Heaven battling bloodline. However, even after Yu Tianao unleashed his peerless battle power, he somehow lost. The experts in the Imperial tombs could only see the images within the transparent ball. They couldn't feel any aura from it, and the battle at the end was covered by a sandstorm. What happened? How did the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline defeat the unparalleled Heaven battling bloodline? A quasi-sacred lord's heart shook. The unparalleled Heaven battling bloodline was ranked slightly higher than the perfect Blood Devil Sun bloodline among Imperial Dao bloodlines. From the display just now, Yu Tianao had more power as well. Everything was a mystery because the sandstorm had hidden everything. The images on the screen in the Great Gan Imperial Palace were even blurrier. No one could see what happened clearly. How did Tianao lose? Yu Langhua was very surprised. The main characteristic of the unparalleled Heaven battling bloodline was that one would only become fiercer and stronger as the battle continued. Only a few forbidden methods could affect it. Yu Tianao soon won 10 matches. Winning 10 or losing 10 was the requirement to leave the Maze Palace. Yu Tianao decided to leave. He was injured, and the side effect of the unparalleled Heaven battling bloodline made him unable to continue fighting. Furthermore, the battle between Zhao Feng and him had already ended, so he had achieved his goal. Tianao, what happened? Yu Langhua immediately asked. I bloodline technique. Yu Tianao gave a simple reply. He also knew that Zhao Feng's true forte was I bloodline techniques, but he didn't expect Zhao Feng's I bloodline techniques to reach a point where they could counter the characteristics of his unparalleled Heaven battling bloodline. What is the total number of wins like? Yu Tianao asked. The 4th prince has 61 total wins, the 13th prince and the 9th prince both have 52 in total. Yu Langhua told him the current standings. There was only a little bit of time left till the moving Maze Palace came to an end. There were less than 15 people in the moving Maze Palace now. The 4th prince was already guaranteed to win this stage, so he only left behind 3 of his strongest members in the Maze Palace in order to plunder some extra draconic providence. Jinkai had exited. Helping Jinkai used up Zhao Feng's focus, and he wasn't very strong in every aspect. The 13th prince was the same. He only left 4 people behind while all the weaker ones had left. The 9th prince and the 13th prince looked at each other from afar as they both released an invisible momentum. Their scores were constantly either the same or close to one another. It was hard to tell who would win between them. From the 9th princes, only Zhao Feng and Old Yingting remained in the Maze Palace, while the 13th prince had 4 people. This meant that the 9th prince might not win for sure even with Zhao Feng's help. Look, the 13th prince's total number of wins has increased again. Humph, Zhao Feng's match is about to end soon as well. Who will win? At this moment, everyone's hearts were clenched as they looked at the scores of the 9th and 13th princes. Although most of the people thought that the ultimate winner would be the 4th prince, the prince that could reach the last stage and fight against the 4th prince would obviously be the most famous prince after the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince trial didn't just determine the Crown Prince, it also determined the status of the other princes in the Lord dynasty in the future. They both have 52 wins. They were both tied again. There's not enough time. Zhao Feng's eyes scanned around. Sacred Lord Black Demon was the closest to him. It's going to be you. Zhao Feng charged toward Sacred Lord Black Demon. The 3rd stage has come to an end. Anyone that hasn't entered a match will now leave. The voice of the transparent elder in the sky sounded, and the screeching of countless metallic sounds could be heard from the Maze Palace below as it started to become smaller. All the members exited from the Maze Palace as well. However, 2 spheres suddenly appeared above the Maze Palace. These were matches that just started as the 3rd stage came to an end. Within one of the spheres was Ji Dengshan and a quasi-sacred lord from the 4th prince's team. Inside the other sphere was Zhao Feng and Sacred Lord Black Demon. The 9th prince and the 13th prince have the same number of wins even at the end. But there's still one more match between Zhao Feng and Sacred Lord Black Demon. This will be the deciding match between those two princes. The 13th prince's hands trembled slightly. Sacred Lord Black Demon, it's up to you. Although Sacred Lord Black Demon had lost the first match to Zhao Feng, the 13th prince knew that it was because he was still unfamiliar with the rules of the moving maze palace. After that, Sacred Lord Black Demon had the highest number of wins on the 13th prince's team. The 13th prince trusted Sacred Lord Black Demon, but he was worried about the opponent, Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng had the greatest number of wins amongst everyone. He had only lost one match so far. Zhao Feng beat him. The 9th prince had a powerful gaze. He trusted Zhao Feng, but nothing was absolute. Zhao Feng was more tired than anyone else. Zhao Feng had the most wins because he had entered the most matches, and for a huge part of the third stage, he was busy using a secret technique to help direct Jing Kai to weaken the pressure on the 9th prince. Jang. The big maze palace finally condensed into a small metallic cube that floated into the transparent elder's hand and disappeared. First place is the 4th prince with 62 total victories. Second place has yet to be decided, the transparent elder said. In an instant, everyone's eyes trained onto the sphere that Zhao Feng and Sacred Lord Black Demon were in. The place was a plain with weird trees 1,000 yards tall. Sacred Lord Black Demon and Zhao Feng appeared here at the same instant. They didn't show any hatred or battle intent. Instead, they were calm and inspected their surroundings closely. They both knew that this was the last match, which would decide which prince moved on. They couldn't be careless. Uncle, my kite is stuck in a tree. Can you help me get it? A little kid next to Zhao Feng and Sacred Lord Black Demon jumped around happily. Why is it this same scenery again? Sacred Lord Black Demon's expression froze. This was the same scene as the first match between him and Zhao Feng, and the little kid was saying the same thing. However, while this final deciding match seemed to recreate the first scene, the contents had changed. There were countless weird trees 1,000 yards high, but there were 4 or 5 kites on the top of almost every tree. Little friend, what does your kite look like? Sacred Lord Black Demon pretended to be friendly. There were thousands upon thousands of kites in this scenery. Therefore, he had to ask this question first so he could know which one to take. It has eyes and lines on it and is very cute. The little kid described to Sacred Lord Black Demon. This. Sacred Lord Black Demon had black lines all over his face. He really wanted to kill this little brat, but he couldn't be rash. This was the deciding match, so he needed to win it no matter what. It wasn't just for the 13th prince either, he wanted to defeat Zhao Feng. However, while Sacred Lord Black Demon managed to eliminate a small number of kites with that description, he still didn't know what to do. Whoosh! The wings behind Zhao Feng's back released a surge of lightning as he sped into the distance. How is that possible? How can Zhao Feng already know what this little kid's kite looks like? Sacred Lord Black Demon instantly started to panic. It's that red kite. Sacred Lord Black Demon suddenly understood. There was only one kite in the first match. Sacred Lord Black Demon could still remember the details of this kite, and it was very likely that the same kid had the same kite. Black Demon escape. Sacred Lord Black Demon instantly used a secret technique, and countless flows of black light appeared from his legs as he chased after Zhao Feng. Although Zhao Feng had the advantage, it wasn't as if Sacred Lord Black Demon had no chance at all. This time, they were both prepared for the gravity and were much faster than before. Who? Zhao Feng reached the peak of a tree and grabbed a kite with one hand. Zhao Feng, hand over the kite. Sacred Lord Black Demon had already released the projection of his little world and used a secret technique to charge at Zhao Feng. Whoosh! Zhao Feng did a flip in the air and charged downward. This time, he also used the power of his little world of wind lightning. Shoo tilde shoo tilde shoo tilde. Zhao Feng and Sacred Lord Black Demon clashed with their little worlds. Since Sacred Lord Black Demon wasn't slow to react this time, the amount of space Zhao Feng had to gain speed was very short, so his explosive power wasn't strong enough. Bam! The two figures both retreated several dozen yards. Sacred Lord Black Demon had a treasure that allowed him to adapt to this dimension, so the projection of his little world could also merge into the air. Zhao Feng had no advantage at all in the clash between little worlds. However, this was already enough to stun countless experts of the outside world. The little world of an emperor managed to clash with the little world of a sacred lord? His little world? Sacred Lord Black Demon's expression became ugly. Although he had seen Zhao Feng's little world before, he didn't expect Zhao Feng's little world to be this strong. Boom. Zhao Feng charged down once more, and the two little worlds clashed again. Wind lightning eye flame. Zhao Feng circulated his left eye, and a transparent gold and purple lightning fire landed on Sacred Lord Black Demon. Whoosh. While Sacred Lord Black Demon was being attacked by that, Zhao Feng flew directly past him toward the little kid. Don't run. Sacred Lord Black Demon struggled for a while and got rid of Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique. His soul was stronger than normal Sacred Lords, and he also had a soul-defending treasure. Even though Zhao Feng's technique contained the power of God Tribulation Lightning, it could only damage Sacred Lord Black Demon a little bit. Who tilde? Zhao Feng waved his hand and let out his beast horde and sky-shaking golden apes. Whoosh. Zhao Feng arrived directly in front of the little kid. This kite. The little kid seemed to hesitate as he looked at Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng's eyes became grim. Shit. The material of this kite was unique, it was made from profound laws. It was unable to be stored within an interspatial storage, so in the fight just now, the shape of the kite had changed a little bit. Adding on the disgusted gaze of the little kid, which was due to the hatred from the characters. Even if the kite was the little kid's, something had changed. Chapter 993, Fight for the Grand Seal. The little kid looked at the kite in Zhao Feng's hand, then at Zhao Feng, but he didn't accept it. Ha 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 ha. Zhao Feng, this is what happens if you cheat. Sacred Lord Black Demon laughed smugly. Everyone in the Imperial Tombs basically knew that Zhao Feng was the cheater at this point. One of the punishments Zhao Feng had received was that the characters in each match would dislike him. On the contrary, Zhao Feng's opponents would be liked by these characters. The experts that fought with Zhao Feng previously had concluded this already. Only I can complete this mission. Sacred Lord Black Demon turned into a beam of black light and flew toward Zhao Feng. Although Zhao Feng had unleashed countless beasts, including the sky-shaking golden apes, they were restricted by the laws of this dimension. They couldn't directly harm Sacred Lord Black Demon unless they were in a match where spiritual pets were allowed. Because of this, beast tamers were usually the second most useless in this stage behind doctors. This was simply how the Crown Prince trial was set up. Beast tamers and doctors played a big part in the second stage, so they were heavily restricted in this stage. Within the Imperial Tombs, the princes and quasi-sacred lords were all stunned. Something like this could happen? Even if one completed the task in the scenery, they wouldn't win? How? Zhao Feng. The ninth prince's body trembled. He didn't expect such a change to happen in the last deciding match. This is too unfair. Zhao Feng obviously completed the task, Old Ying said out loud. His aim was to make the transparent elder in the sky hear him. This scenery is indeed unreasonable. We will improve it in the future. As the judge, the transparent elder felt that a situation like this did indeed affect the fairness. The members of the ninth prince's team were instantly disappointed. It was obvious that the transparent elder would let the match continue. Good. Sacred Lord Black Demon, quickly get the kite. The 13th prince, who had constantly been suppressed in this stage, felt extremely smug. Finally, Zhao Feng would finally lose to his team. Only I can win this match. Sacred Lord Black Demon laughed out loud and flew toward Zhao Feng without feeling the need to rush. Zhao Feng looked at the Sacred Lord Black Demon out of the corner of his eye. Only you? Maybe this can work. Zhao Feng suddenly thought of an idea, and his emperor intent suddenly moved. The next instant, a misty illusion spread across heaven and earth. Although the little kid was a machine, it could still think. This meant that there was a soul intent within it. Therefore, even though it might not be very effective, the little kid could still be affected by the Tao of the soul. A layer of purple mist covered Zhao Feng, and his appearance slowly turned into Sacred Lord Black Demon. What? Zhao Feng, you want to pretend to be me? Sacred Lord Black Demon paused for a moment, then instantly sped up and charged into Zhao Feng's illusion maze domain. He knew what Zhao Feng was trying to do. Although everything in front of him was slightly blurry due to Zhao Feng's illusion maze domain, it didn't really affect Sacred Lord Black Demon. Come, Uncle accidentally damaged your kite. I'll give you a piece of candy as an apology. Zhao Feng turned into the Sacred Lord Black Demon and revealed a smile as he handed over 2 items. In the previous setting with this little kid, substandard god crystals were candy. If Zhao Feng took out a substandard god crystal, it would definitely allow Zhao Feng to win some affinity with the little kid. The little kid paused for a moment after seeing Zhao Feng. "Thank you, uncle." When he saw the candy though, he immediately took it and the kite. How? Sacred Lord Black Demon was full of regret, but there was nothing he could do anymore. The little kid had already taken the kite and the candy. "Victor, Zhao Feng." A mechanical voice resounded across the dimension. Wang tilde. 10% more draconic providence entered Zhao Feng's Dragon Jade before he appeared on the 9th Prince's stone stage. He won? The 9th Prince hadn't reacted yet. Everything had progressed too quickly. "Brother Zhao." The 9th Prince immediately called out. Zhao Feng had surprised him yet again. "Zhao Feng, you're so smart." Zhou Suer cheered and wanted to rush up and hug Zhao Feng. "Zhao Feng, good job." Even Old Ying was sweating when he saw Zhao Feng's predicament. Everyone originally thought that they had already lost this match, but Zhao Feng surprised them and tricked the little kid. On the other side. "You idiot." The 13th Prince was trembling with anger, but he could only curse. The other members all felt extremely frustrated as well, but they didn't dare to swear at Sacred Lord Black Demon. "I became careless. I didn't think that the tide could turn like that." Sacred Lord Black Demon felt very bad as well. He had become careless because he thought he was guaranteed to win. Outside the Imperial tombs, continuous cheers and laughter sounded. No one was able to react to what happened before it was already over. It was difficult for normal people to even think of something like that. On top of that, Sacred Lord Black Demon became the laughingstock of many people. He could have won, but because of his carelessness, he had given the victory to the opponent. Sacred Lord Black Demon's fame had been destroyed by the hands of a youth and a little kid. However, the noise around the clouds soon quieted down. The Maze Palace has come to an end. The victors are the 4th Prince and the 9th Prince. The transparent elder gave a deep glance toward the stone stage of the 4th Prince. No one knew who he was looking at. The next instant, a white ray light flashed around the 8th and 13th Prince's stone stages. Whoosh! The 2 princes and their teams were all sent out of the Imperial tombs. The 2 stone stages also started to descend back into the Heaven's Legacy City. "We will now enter the final stage, the fight for the Grand Seal," the transparent elder's voice sounded, and an invisible pressure started to spread. At the same time, the stone stages of the 2 remaining princes turned until they faced one another. The gray-white stone tablet then started to sink into the stage. Boom. The 2 stages finally connected, and a path formed between them. Boom. 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 The sound of metal clashing came from the center of the path. Countless small metal boards extended out until it formed a circular-shaped area where the final battle would be held. "Old Ying," the 9th Prince called out after giving a glance toward the 4th Prince. "Your Highness, we have no hope of winning." Old Ying sighed and lowered his head. When the transparent elder announced that they were about to enter the last stage, the excitement of the 9th Prince's entire team turned to silence. Although the 9th Prince managed to defeat the 13th Prince and move on, he had nowhere near as much draconic providence as the 4th Prince. He didn't even have as much as the 13th Prince. "We've already tried our best." It was hard for Shi Yulai to hide his unwillingness. The 9th Prince's team had been very good in the 3rd stage. Not only did they have the 2nd highest number of wins, they had the lowest number of losses. However, even if the 9th Prince's team had a good performance, they hadn't been able to close the gap. The fight for the Grand Seal will now begin. "May the 2 princes start the final battle," the transparent elder announced solemnly. The 2 princes' subordinates can help the princes they support, but they can't directly damage the other prince. There was only this one rule. This meant that the 9th Prince's team members could heal, defend, and transfer their power to the 9th Prince. However, they weren't allowed to attack the 4th Prince directly or do something that would affect the 4th Prince's ability to battle. "Come, brother 9th Prince. I never expected you would be able to reach this stage." The 4th Prince walked forward in a calm and composed manner. The momentum of a king emanated from him. From his perspective, he was already the crown prince, and the 9th Prince whom he usually ignored had finally gained his recognition. "My goal is to defeat brother 4th Prince." The 9th Prince took a deep breath as he walked out. The 2 princes both held their pseudo-crown prince seal with one hand as they slowly walked toward the center of the final battleground. Wang Wang. Both princes' pseudo-crown prince seal started to tremble at the same time, and a strong surge of draconic providence leapt into the air as golden light shone. A powerful and giant golden dragon could be seen in the air above the final battleground, and its roar shook everyone's soul. Boom. Boom. The two surges of draconic providence entered the bodies of the respective princes, and golden draconic light rose around the two princes. The draconic light glittered and lit up heaven and earth. Draconic light that's 7 yards tall. Zhuge Yun's eyes glittered. The draconic light coming from the fourth prince's body was over 7 yards high. Precisely said, it had reached 7.4 yards. One had to know that the tallest draconic light that had ever appeared in the history of the Crown Prince trials had only reached 8.3 yards. So unfortunate. The ninth prince has definitely lost. His draconic light is only 6.2 yards tall, an elder next to Zhuge Yun said. In comparison to the fourth prince's draconic light, the ninth prince's draconic light was a lot fainter. A difference of 1 yard. Old Ying looked at the two princes. Get ready to help. Old Ying immediately called out. The members of the princes' teams were allowed to support their princes. Although they had no chance of winning, the ninth prince didn't admit defeat, so they couldn't give up just like that. Zhao Feng, where are your flying beasts? Zhou Su'er asked carefully at this moment. When she was partnered with Zhao Feng, she knew that Zhao Feng had given some stolen dragon jades to some flying beasts. She just didn't know how much draconic providence these pieces of dragon jade had accumulated by now and whether or not it could shrink the gap between the two princes. There's no need to rush, Zhao Feng replied gently. Wang Wang. When the draconic providence turned into battle power, the two princes instantly became stronger than everyone present. The fourth prince had broken through to the sacred lord rank in the imperial tombs, and with the addition of the draconic providence now, his battle power was approaching the late stages of the mystic light realm. Limitless pressure filled the air. The battle power of the ninth prince opposite him was almost an entire level lower. The ninth prince felt troubled just trying to resist the fourth prince's pressure. Chapter 994, Clash of Draconic Providence. The ninth prince felt troubled just trying to resist the fourth prince's pressure. Many different intents suddenly appeared from behind the ninth prince and helped him fight back against this pressure. Soul Sense Spiritual Technique. Old Ying used a complex technique to send a faint soul power into the ninth prince's soul. The ninth prince instantly felt the power of his soul increase, and his senses became sharper. Buddhist Seed. Zhou Su'er waved her hand, and a sparkling green seed slowly floated toward the ninth prince. This technique can continuously heal you, and it's even effective on the soul. Zhou Su'er told the ninth prince about the use of this technique. Yellow Dragon Defense. Shi Yulai ignited his bloodline and used a secret technique. A layer of moving dark yellow mist slowly appeared around the ninth prince. This was obviously a defensive secret technique of the Shi family. I intend. Zhao Feng didn't hide anything either. He circulated his left eye and left a mark on the ninth prince's soul. The ninth prince would now be able to use Zhao Feng's eye intent through this mark, and even some of the abilities of the god's spiritual eye. The ninth prince instantly felt everything in his sight become 10 times clearer, his senses and his precision became perfect. Even the fourth prince in front of him started to become slightly transparent. He could see what was happening within the fourth prince's body and how the latter was utilizing his mystic light sacred power. The ninth prince felt as if his overall strength had increased by an entire tier. Boom. The ninth prince puffed out his chest and looked the fourth prince directly in the eye. An invisible force arose and caused the air to shake. Good, your team members are very excellent. Praise flashed through the fourth prince's eyes. The momentum of the ninth prince was on par with his own after receiving the help of his team members. A golden sword with dragons carved onto it appeared in the fourth prince's hand. Receive this attack of mine. The fourth prince lifted his sword and slashed out. The members behind the ninth prince instantly felt the power of a sacred lord crushing over. The power of this sword contained a very profound intent of the sword Dao. Zhou Su'er and Su Qingling took a few steps back and stood behind everyone else. Terrifying. So, this is draconic providence when it's controlled by a true imperial. Jing Kai exclaimed. This pressure wasn't even aimed at him, it was aimed at the ninth prince in front of him. On top of that, the fourth prince was fighting alone, none of his team members were helping him. Boom. The ninth prince also drew his ancient green sword of lightning. Lightning sparkled around it as he slashed out. The draconic providence nearby started to gather as the two swords slashed out. Bam! Boom! The ninth prince retreated a couple dozen steps before stabilizing his footing. If it wasn't for Shi Yulai's defensive secret technique, Zhou Suer's healing skill, and the buff to his senses and reaction time given by Old Ying and Zhao Feng, the ninth prince would have probably been severely injured already. On the other hand, the fourth prince only took half a step back from that terrifying clash. He had no trouble at all. So strong. He's fighting against our entire team alone. Shi Yulai exclaimed even though their team technically wasn't fighting. The fourth prince was already very strong, and he has way more draconic providence than the ninth prince. Old Ying slowly said. The difference between the two groups was very big. Furthermore, the fourth prince's team members still hadn't done anything yet. Little World of Wind Lightning. Zhao Feng suddenly released his Little World of Wind Lightning around the ninth prince. Boom. 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 The power of the lightning in the Little World of Wind Lightning entered the ninth prince's ancient green sword of lightning. At the same time, the little world itself became the ninth prince's shield. What powerful lightning! The ninth prince exclaimed. The inheritance sacred weapon he had in his hand was a lightning-type weapon, but the ninth prince didn't cultivate lightning techniques, so he was unable to fully release its power. However, with the addition of Zhao Feng's lightning, the lightning within his inheritance sacred weapon was completely activated. The ninth prince could even sense that the lightning of Zhao Feng's little world easily surpassed the lightning inside his inheritance sacred weapon. Boom. At this instant, lightning started to crackle around the ninth prince's draconic providence. Not bad. Your momentum has become pretty strong, but it's time to end this. The fourth prince's voice was calm. Although the ninth prince's battle power had increased, it changed nothing. Exchanging blows with the ninth prince was to show that the ninth prince had gained his recognition. If he still continued to play around, it would just be humiliating the ninth prince. As the fourth prince's voice sounded, the members behind him started to circulate their Emperor intent and Sacred Lord intent as they used secret techniques to buff the fourth prince. Wang boom. Boom. Limitless power appeared around the fourth prince. Even the dimension was unable to handle it and started to crackle. Come. The fourth prince's voice boomed across the sky. Whoosh. The ninth prince slashed out. An ancient green bolt of lightning surrounded by draconic light instantly flashed forward. The fourth prince put the sword with dragon carvings in front of his chest. Boom. 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 The ninth prince's attack was easily blocked. The limitless power of lightning wasn't even able to break through the fourth prince's defense. With the support of the fourth prince's team, the ninth prince's attacks wouldn't be able to harm the fourth prince unless they became drastically stronger. Let's end this. The fourth prince waved his sword and shattered the ninth prince's attack. Bam. The fourth prince raised his golden sword, and all the draconic providence in the air seemed to be attracted as it surged into the sword. The golden sword seemed to turn into a golden sun, and a faint golden dragon spitting out golden flames could be seen. Who? Before the fourth prince's attack was even unleashed, the ninth prince and company felt a pressure as strong as Mount Tai. However, an eagle cry suddenly sounded in the sky. Normal eagles were definitely unable to approach the battlefield of the two princes. Everyone raised their head and saw a bright light slowly falling down. That's a dragon jade. Someone on the fourth prince's side exclaimed. Ding. The piece of dragon jade landed on the ninth prince's body, and the draconic providence within it was absorbed by the ninth prince. The draconic light behind him grew by 0.1 yards. Where did this dragon jade come from? Shi Yulai was curious as well. The dragon jade had landed perfectly on the ninth prince. Could it be that the heavens themselves were helping them? Wu tilde. A few more eagles cried. Ding. 3 more bright lights landed on the ninth prince. Wang boom. After absorbing the draconic providence within the dragon jades, the draconic light behind the ninth prince grew by another 0.2 yards. This should be because of Zhao Feng. He used his beast taming abilities and gave some dragon jades to the beasts to gather draconic providence, Zhuge Yun explained to those that were curious behind the fourth prince. But the draconic providence within those dragon jades is limited. Nothing has changed, Zhuge Yun said certainly. Nothing would change the fourth prince's victory. That's right. 4 pieces of dragon jade can only supply a limited amount, another member said. The ninth prince's draconic light had only increased by 0.3 yards, reaching 6.5 yards total. The difference between the 9th prince's draconic light and the 4th prince's draconic light was still like the difference between heaven and earth. However, just as he finished saying that, the cries of even more eagles sounded in the distance. Ding! 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 Bam! 5 more pieces of dragon jade fell from the sky and landed on the 9th prince. Although there wasn't much draconic providence in each piece of dragon jade, there were 9 pieces in total so far. Everyone knew the logic behind small amounts adding up. At this moment in time, the 9th prince's draconic light was close to reaching 7 yards. How is this possible? How can he have so many pieces of dragon jade? A member in the 4th prince's team exclaimed. These pieces of dragon jade were definitely taken from the members of other princes' teams, but when a prince used the pseudo-crown prince seal to ask for help, the arrays within the dragon jades would still activate. How were all these dragon jades still in the imperial tombs? The 9th prince's draconic providence is reaching the level of the 4th prince's, a member of the 4th prince's team said deeply. On the other side, even though they didn't know why so many pieces of dragon jade suddenly landed on the 9th prince, the 9th prince and the other members were all surprised and excited. The dragon-winged eagles suddenly flew over to Zhao Feng and disappeared. Brother Zhao. The 9th prince's heart slightly shook. He didn't expect Zhao Feng to have prepared something like this. Now that the amount of draconic providence he had was so close to the 4th prince's, fighting back wasn't hopeless anymore. The 9th prince felt his blood boil. Zhao Feng had a calm expression. He originally had 10 dragon-winged eagles, but one of them was lost while gathering draconic providence. The 4th prince watched all of this without saying anything. Even if the 9th prince's draconic providence had increased from these 9 pieces of dragon jade, he still wasn't scared. Someone behind the 4th prince suddenly called out, "There's still more dragon jades." Everyone instantly looked into the distance, and the 4th prince's expression finally changed. This time, it wasn't dragon-winged eagles that were flying over, but several other flying beasts. Ding! Ding! Bam! 3 pieces of dragon jade landed on the 9th prince, and the draconic light behind him grew taller. Both the 4th prince's and 9th prince's draconic light had reached 7.4 yards. Since Zhao Feng had sent these 3 flying beasts out earlier than the eagles, they had gathered slightly more draconic providence. Let's end this. The 4th prince's voice was deep as he slashed forward with his sword. The 9th prince had the same amount of draconic providence as him now, but the 4th prince still had the absolute advantage in base strength. A golden flash of sword light slashed toward the 9th prince like an ancient golden dragon. Wu tilde. When this sword descended, 2 flying beasts in the distance threw out the dragon jades in their claws toward the 9th prince. There was originally 3, but one of them suffered an accident when gathering draconic providence. Bam! Limitless power of lightning and draconic providence spread out. The 9th prince's sword unleashed peerless force that had broken through the 4th prince's attack. Good. This will be interesting. Battle intent burned in the 4th prince's eyes, but he was originally stronger and still had the support of his team members, so his overall battle power was still slightly stronger than the 9th prince. Wu tilde. However, just as the 4th prince finished speaking, the cry of another bird sounded in the sky and made his heart shake. Chapter 995, Grand Seal. It wasn't just the 4th prince's heart that shook, the heart of every member behind him shook as well. Shoo! A normal-looking black-colored eagle radiating an ancient and heavy aura threw down a piece of dragon jade, and this dragon jade was glowing with light as if it was a pure white crystal. This old eagle was a beast that Zhao Feng had enslaved in the ancient dream realm. Because it came from that place, it had a big advantage in this dimension and could enter the more dangerous places to gather draconic providence. Therefore, this piece of dragon jade contained the most draconic providence so far. Boom! The draconic light behind the 9th prince roared and increased once more. A golden lightning dragon slowly rose behind him, and its power was far stronger than before. The 9th prince's team was more excited than ever. Their blood boiled after experiencing a great rise after a great fall, and they had the urge to join in the battle as well. 8 yards. A member behind the 4th prince exclaimed. How is this possible? Zhuge Yun's tone was low as he questioned. This was the 15th piece of dragon jade. They had seen Zhao Feng take at least 10 pieces of dragon jade from 3 princes, and Shen Shitsa, who specialized in arrays, may have modified them to stop their teleportation arrays from failing to activate. However, even if they had so many dragon jades, this didn't make any sense. The dragon jade delivered by this old black eagle contained a huge amount of draconic providence. Even if Zhao Feng made this beast gather draconic providence from the very beginning, it couldn't have gathered so much. There were just too many suspicions and questions. 8 yards of draconic light. That's 0.6 yards more than the fourth prince's. Sacred Lord 10,000 Lightning murmured. However, even if the ninth prince had 0.6 yards more draconic light than the fourth prince, the ninth prince still didn't have much of an advantage. The baseline difference between the two princes was extremely big, and the difference between their teams was even bigger. And this immediately, Zhuge Yun's voice sounded in the minds of everyone on the fourth prince's team. Everything had changed because of Zhao Feng. From attacking the cities to the moving maze palace to the fight for the Grand Seal, Zhao Feng could change the tide single-handedly. Zhuge Yun looked at Zhao Feng's calm expression and suddenly had zero confidence. The Grand Seal shall be mine. The fourth prince raised his golden sword and gathered all his draconic providence. At the same time, many images and lights filled heaven and earth around him. These were the supportive abilities and defenses that his team members gave him. Who? The fourth prince charged forward, and the draconic providence around him danced alongside him. Tang! The ninth prince also leapt into the air. At this instant, he had more draconic providence than the fourth prince and wasn't scared of him at all. Ding! Boom! The two swords clashed. Lightning and golden light radiated across heaven and earth. Younger brother, you surprise me. The fourth prince had an ugly expression. Now that he was fighting seriously against the ninth prince, he realized that the ninth prince's usage of draconic providence had reached an extremely precise level. Furthermore, the ninth prince's offensive style was also extremely profound. Why is it like this? The experts behind the fourth prince exclaimed. The ninth prince only had 0.6 yards more draconic light than the fourth prince, but they were now on par with each other. One had to know that the fourth prince was a sacred lord already, whereas the ninth prince was barely a quasi-sacred lord. Brother fourth prince, you're the target that I'm going to surpass. The ninth prince's eyes twinkled as blood boiled in his heart. The supportive ability that Zhao Feng had given him allowed the ninth prince to control everything very precisely. This was why he could control the draconic providence so much better, closing the gap in cultivation between the fourth prince and himself. On top of that, the ninth prince could even anticipate what kind of technique the fourth prince was going to use by inspecting his actions and how he moved his true yuan. The ninth prince's battle power seems to have increased in an instant. Old Ying was surprised. He knew the ninth prince extremely well, and he could tell that the ninth prince's technique was unique and could counter the fourth prince to a certain degree. Zhao Feng, you're really talented. Shi Yulai praised Zhao Feng. The tide had completely turned. The ninth prince now had at least a 50% chance to become the crown prince. Chaos started to spread throughout the Great Gan Lord dynasty. Countless experts and forces couldn't believe what they were seeing with their eyes. The ninth prince, who was ranked 7th before the trial started, was currently on par with the fourth prince after exchanging blows with him. How Zhao Feng gathered all that draconic providence was the main question of many experts. To begin with, it was a big problem just to gather so many pieces of dragon jade. Furthermore, destroying the arrays inside the dragon jades was a big problem as well. Normal array masters would need to spend a lot of time to destroy the array without damaging the dragon jade. However, Zhao Feng had somehow perfectly solved all these problems. Fourth prince. Two sacred lords suddenly stood up behind the fourth prince. Even they weren't able to accept the reality in front of them. They were the strongest team, the fourth prince had to win. Wang tilde boom. Sacred Lord 10,000 Lightning and another Sacred Lord used secret techniques to transfer a large amount of mystic light sacred power. The power that Sacred Lord 10,000 Lightning transferred was more condensed and was slightly crystalline. This was a technique that only Sky Suspension Palace had. The battle power of both the fourth prince and the ninth prince was currently close to the late stages of the mystic light realm. Apart from using some supportive abilities and secret techniques, normal experts couldn't do much to help at this point. However, it was different for Mystic Light Realm Sacred Lords. They were able to send over a large amount of refined Mystic Light sacred power. Wang tilde. The fourth prince felt a continuous flow of sacred power in his body. The problem was that this power was impure, but it was enough. Ding. Boom. The fourth prince released supreme force and Mystic Light sacred power with every movement. Bam. The ninth prince blocked the fourth prince's attack again. His hands started to tremble, and the defensive secret technique that Shi-Yu used instantly crumbled apart. Mystic light sacred power. The ninth prince murmured. Despite his power boost, he was still using True Yuan. This was the biggest difference between the fourth prince and himself, otherwise he could easily defeat the fourth prince with his draconic light that was 0.6 yards taller. Zhao Feng, what about that Yao bird from the very beginning? Zhou Su'er asked curiously. She remembered that Zhao Feng could fly as soon as they entered the imperial tomb after summoning an ancient Yao bird. Zhao Feng then sent it to gather draconic providence after obtaining a dragon jade. What? There's still another beast? Old Ying's eyes were filled with joy. If there was even one more piece of dragon jade, it would completely close the difference in cultivation between the fourth prince and ninth prince. Not good. Fourth prince, quickly end it. Sacred Lord 10,000 Lightning's expression changed dramatically. Zhou Su'er, Old Ying, and company didn't speak with spiritual sense, so the other side could hear it very clearly. He and the other Sacred Lord immediately increased the amount of sacred power to the fourth prince. The fourth prince had a serious expression. He obviously heard it too. Just lose already. An explosion sounded around the fourth prince as all his draconic light entered the golden sword. He put as much mystic light sacred power into the inheritance sacred weapon as he possibly could. Ding. Wang tilde wang tilde. The golden sword with dragon carvings seemed unable to withstand the power and started to rattle. Golden dragon sacred slash. The fourth prince thrust out with his sword with both hands. Wang tilde boom. A peerless golden white light and a powerful sword intent swept over and destroyed everything in its path. Even the air started to twist. Ninth prince. Not good. Old Ying immediately exclaimed. The power of the fourth prince's attack surpassed the attack of the normal late-stage mystic light realm. He's combined the mystic light sacred power of 3 sacred lords. Shi-Yu's voice shook. The sacred lords behind the fourth prince were using a special method to send over their mystic light sacred power, so he had 3 sacred lords worth of power including his own. It's coming. Zhao Feng's eyes flashed as he murmured gently. However, at this moment, everyone was completely attracted by the fourth prince's all-out attack. The power from this attack covered everything. Only the ninth prince could feel a strong surge of draconic providence suddenly approach him. Come. Before the piece of dragon jade even made it to the ninth prince, he forcefully circulated a secret imperial technique and absorbed the draconic providence within it. Wang boom. Boom. The stunning golden dragon sacred slash landed on the ninth prince just as the roar of a dragon sounded. The draconic light behind the ninth prince started to rise once more. 8.1 yards. 8.2. 8.3. 8.5. Boom. Draconic providence surrounded the ninth prince, and his ancient green sword of lightning slashed forward with peerless power. Peng. Boom. The peerless attack that was right in front of him was shattered, and a limitless surge of draconic force spread from the ninth prince. Boom. The fourth prince, who just unleashed his full power and thought that he won, was instantly thrown back several yards onto the ground. At this moment in time, the ninth prince's power had completely surpassed him. He felt troubled just trying to resist against the pressure of this enchant. Boom. The ninth prince slashed out with his sword and shattered the pseudo-crown prince seal behind the fourth prince. Wang tilde. On the other hand, his pseudo-crown prince seal instantly released limitless golden light. Countless golden lines and dragons surrounded the little golden seal, and a mysterious and sacred power started to brew within the seal. Grand seal. Formed. White light sparkled through the transparent elder's eyes. At the same time, a giant white array spread across the stone stages and the battleground in the air. Wang. The next instant, the 2 princes and their team members had returned to the Great Gan Imperial Palace. The Crown Prince trial had officially come to an end. The Great Gan Imperial Palace was dead silent for a moment before erupting into noise that shocked heaven and earth. The ninth prince won. I didn't even see how the tide turned at the end. What happened? I only saw the ninth prince's draconic light rapidly rise at the end. Because the images were slightly blurry from the light of the fourth prince's peerless attack, almost no one had seen how the ninth prince won. The other princes in the Great Hall were still in shock. The ninth prince defeated brother fourth prince? The seventh prince couldn't believe it. How is this possible? The ninth prince won. Damn it, That Zhao Feng. The 13th prince's body trembled and his expression became nasty. Ninth prince, Zhao Feng. Good job. Duke Minfeng immediately stood up and roared as he started clapping. Some forces of the Lord dynasty and in the clouds were shocked, angry, or sad. There were many experts and princes that sighed unwillingly. No one paid attention to a hidden surge of wicked killing intent in a corner. Hee hee, I didn't think it would be the ninth prince.